Welcome back to the Toledo Rockets Podcast. I am your host, Brian Nowicki. And today we have a couple of games from the men's and women's basketball teams to go over. And then I'm also going to talk about my unsung hero of both the men's and women's basketball teams. So make sure you watch to the end to hear about those. All right, so we're going to get started first with the men's basketball team. And they've definitely been on a roll. They just won their 10th straight game. They are now 20-6 overall, 11-2 in the MAC. Still tied there with Kent State for first place in the Mid-American Conference. Of course, Kent State beat them in their only game during the regular season this year at Kent State. So they do have the tiebreaker for the seeding into the MAC tournament. So if the season ended today, Toledo would be the number 2 seed in the MAC tournament, with Kent State the number 1 seed. For the Rockets, though, it's a 10th straight victory for them in this last game. They are now tied for second in the country in terms of longest winning streak at 10 games. And again, 20th win for another season with 20 wins, 11-2 conference record right now. With we're looking at, I think it's 5 more games to play in conference, right? Yeah, 5 more games, I believe. It's going to be a very interesting MAC tournament. The Rockets have already clinched berth into the MAC tournament. Like I said, they would be the number 2 seed right now. They could probably be anywhere from the number 1 to the number 4 seed in that tournament. And any of those positions are, pretty good positions to be in. All right, and now we're going to take a quick look at the women's basketball team and a recap there. They also have 20 wins now on the season after destroying Western Michigan 75-44. Now, this game was a lot closer earlier in the game, but Toledo really came on really in the second quarter, and then the second half, they just completely blew out Western Michigan, winning that game 75-44. For the women's team, it's 8 straight victories. Combined with the men's and women's, that's 18 straight wins. And that is second in the country for a men's and women's basketball team to be at 18 straight wins. So the Rockets, they are now 20-4 overall, 11-2 in the MAC. So same conference record as the men's team. The big news, though, in women's basketball is that Bowling Green lost to Northern Illinois. So with that, Ball State is now in first place all by themselves in the women's side of the MAC. Bowling Green is now in second place with Toledo. And, right now Bowling Green holds the tiebreaker because they had defeated Toledo in Bowling Green earlier this year, but they will play again at the end of the season. So the women's team is looking really good for a number 1, number 2, or number 3 seed. They're pretty much probably going to be one of those 3 seeds. They still have Ball State and Bowling Green on the schedule, so they could finish out the regular season and win the regular season title and have the number 1 seed going into the MAC tournament. So from there, I'm going to transfer back over to what I had talked about at the beginning, and that was my unsung heroes. So I wanted to spend a little bit more time in this episode talking about who I feel is the unsung hero of both the men's basketball team and the women's basketball team. So I'll start with the men's basketball team. And for me, it's Raheem Moss on the men's side. He's 6'4", 205-pound sophomore from Springfield, Ohio. He has started all 26 games. He averages 29.9 minutes per game, which is third best on the team behind Ray J. Dennis and Cedric Milner. He has shot the ball very well. He's shooting 44% from the field for the season, 79% from the free throw line. And he's averaging 7.7 points per game and 4.4 rebounds per game. That all said, I think that Moss's best trait is his defense, and it's gotten better and better as the season has gone on. He leads the team with 40 steals on the season. Ray J. Dennis is second with 37 in comparison. Third on the team, I believe, was Cedric Milner at 30. So 40 steals, leads the team. And his defense has really, really been great all year, but it's improved as the season has gone on. In one of the recent games here against Eastern Michigan, he held Imani Bates to just 4 points on 2 of 17 shooting, and he was 0 for 5 from the 3-point land. And Bates committed 5 turnovers in the game. That really had a lot to do with Raheem Moss, the way he was playing him defensively. Yeah, Bates, just wasn't shooting the ball well, but he also didn't have a lot of good open looks either. And, Bates is a guy that he was a candidate for MAC Player of the Year there at one point. Obviously, that game probably threw that all away for him, but it just shows Raheem Moss has played so well defensively. And the 4.4 rebounds per game from a guy that 6'4", 205 pounds. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's still getting the rebounds. Basically almost 5 rebounds per game. And then you look at his last game, he had 6 rebounds against Miami in that victory. He also scored 11 points. So he was doing it on the offensive side as well in that game. So Raheem Moss is definitely my unsung hero from the men's basketball team for the Rockets. Yes, he's a starter, and he plays 29.9 minutes per game, but he's not Ray J. Dennis. He's not Cedric Milner. He's not JJ Shoemate. He's not one of the guys that you look at first as they are, the big main scorer and so forth. And 7.7 points per game. It's not double digits. It's solid, but it's not anything great. But then you look at his defense, and his defense is just where he excels so well. He's a physical guy. He's a guy that played football in high school, and he is very physical and plays solid defense. And that's really why I see him as my unsung hero on the men's side. So now let's look at the women's basketball team. And my unsung hero here is Nan Garcia. She's a 6-foot junior from Jeffersonville, Indiana. So she actually went to Penn State her freshman year and then transferred to Toledo. And she's been here for a couple years now. This year, she's only started 3 games, but she averages 16.5 minutes per game. And here's some stats: 6.6 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, second on the team with 8 blocked shots. And she shoots 85% from the free throw line. That right there, 85% from the free throw line, is huge, especially, down the stretch in tight games. That's going to be huge as we go into the MAC tournament. So she scored 23 pointers this year. She's one of 6 players on the team with at least 3 3-pointers, with at least 20 3-pointers made for the season. So she shows that she's got a good outside shot. She's got good size and can play down low inside as well. Let's look at some stats from the last few games, and just looking here. So the last 3 games, she's averaging just under 12 points and 7 rebounds per game. In the last game against Western Michigan, she had 11 points and 5 rebounds. Then against Miami, the game before that, she had 15 points and 7 rebounds. And then the game before that against Buffalo, she had 9 points and 8 rebounds. So she's, pretty consistently been up there around 10 to 12 points per game. And, about 7 rebounds per game there pretty consistently, right? That's been big, right? She's definitely stepped up her game from earlier in the season. And, she's averaging 6.6 points per game for the season, but she's just under 12 points in her last 3 games, just under 12 points per game. So she's definitely improved there and been really as, the top person off the bench, right? Because she's only started 3 games. So 21 games she's been coming off the bench. And it's nice to have that 6th player, right? The player that comes off the bench and can score double figures when you need it. She gets rebounds, like I said. She's got good size, and she can also hit the shot from the outside too. So she's really my unsung hero on the women's team as well. So that's where we're at with men's and women's basketball. Let me know what you think, who you think should be the unsung hero of the men's team, who should be the unsung hero of the women's team. And let's see what happens here over the next week or so as we get closer and closer to the MAC tournament. And then we'll be able to see what seeding both the men's and women's team will have in the MAC tournament. All right, that's it for now. Thanks, everyone.